Emerald is a precious green-colored stone often found with some black or white mixed in, but what really is emerald? Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm not a gemologist, but I'm an artist that really likes gemstones. So, let's talk about emeralds. Emeralds were dated to have started mining as early as the 20th and 15th century of BC from Egyptian emerald mines that were named after Cleopatra. They were the main source until others were found in South America, where one of the largest and finest emerald producers is found, Colombia. Zambia is close behind them. Emerald is considered a precious stone, right next to diamonds, sapphires, and rubies. This contributes to the rarity and desirability of these gemstones. The beryl comes in a hexagonal structure, which in this specific instance is really cool. They almost look like pillars growing out of rocks, just like this crystal inside a piece of calcite. Chemical composition is beryllium aluminum cyclosilicate, or more often just called beryl. Emerald is most often a green color. Specifically, it's more of a cold or blue tinted green rather than it being a warm color. This is usually caused by chromium or vanadium impurities. The most valuable type of emerald is going to be a large, vibrant, and clear stone. Most common varieties of emerald are going to have a very opaque and lighter color. Emeralds often have black inclusions on the inside of them, which is called jardin in French, or garden, since the green background gives the illusion of plants growing on the inside. Inclusions in emeralds, as mentioned previously, are incredibly common. It's almost impossible for emeralds to not have at least one type of inclusion. The first type of inclusion an emerald can have is called a crystal inclusion, where another mineral or crystal will be growing inside the stone, leading to different colors on the inside. Like the black inclusions in emeralds is most likely black chromite. Emeralds can also include liquid inclusions. This is where liquid gets trapped inside the crystal as it's forming. Fingerprints and needles can also be left as inclusions inside the stone, where they are gas trapped inside the stone, or long and thin crystals, or even hollow tubes. The last thing you can see inside an emerald are going to be fractures, which is actually the most common inclusion for emeralds. These are little cracks and fissures inside the stone itself, and actually make the stone a lot more delicate than you would think. Here's a little video of my most fractured emerald. I think it's really fascinating how many little cracks and everything are on the outside of it. The most common treatment for emeralds to look nicer is called oiling. Most emeralds are treated with oils or resins to fill in the fractures and make it look to be a nicer clarity than it actually is. An emerald shouldn't ever be cleaned with an ultrasonic cleaner, which is often used for jewelry, as it can remove the oil and cause damage to the emerald itself. After time, the oil in an emerald can fade, making the color look lighter, but it is something that can be fixed. I've heard varying methods on re-oiling an emerald, but it really is something that, if needed, should be done by a professional to ensure a good and lasting look. Oil that is used usually has a similar refractive index to that of an emerald, so that the look is seamless. Here's a photograph of an unoiled emerald versus the same emerald but oiled. It's much clearer and more vibrant, so it's easy to see why they would treat emeralds this way. Anyways, going back to talking about the refractive index, this stone is 1.57 to 1.58. Emeralds have a vitreous luster, similar to that of glass, and when a UV light is shown onto emeralds, most don't have any kind of fluorescence. Mine sure don't. Some of them can have a weak one, and some very rarely a medium to strong glow of red, but one of the telltale signs of a synthetic emerald is that they fluoresce a dark and dull red color. The stone has a specific gravity of 2.6 to 2.8 times heavier than water. Emerald is surprisingly not a very easy stone to scratch. On the Mohs hardness scale, it ranks from a 7.5 to an 8. One would think that with it being so hard, it would be a good stone to wear every day, but that is a lie. With how many fractures are common inside emeralds, they are incredibly brittle, because all those areas make up just a bunch of places that they can potentially break. I've talked to many a person wanting an emerald engagement ring and had to gently convince them not to do it, as it will only end in tears. Especially since emerald is a more expensive gemstone anyways, that will just add to the heartbreak. If you're looking for a green gemstone to wear every day for an engagement ring, I highly recommend green sapphires. They come in a variety of colors and have a 9 in hardness, as well as being nowhere near as brittle as emeralds are. And now, for your viewing pleasure, I will break some emeralds. I tried not to hit them too hard so they wouldn't go flying, but as you can see, that didn't help. This concludes breaking emeralds with a hammer. Anyways, back to painting. Emeralds have a basal cleavage where it breaks in a lateral plane from the base of the crystal. As for cutting the stone, there is the famous emerald cut that's most known for, which was made to reduce the pressure put onto the stone to avoid breaking it while in the cutting process. This shape of cut is also one of my favorites. Due to the way this stone is cut, any inclusions or flaws are usually pretty obvious in it though. Emeralds are cut in a plethora of different ways, usually sticking to the more regular cut shapes. There are some other green stones that people may mistake as emeralds, which are going to be usually less valuable. Stones like tsavorite garnets, chrome diopside, green fluorite, and green tourmaline are just some of the deeper green stones that can be mistaken for emeralds. And just like diamonds and other precious gemstones, there are other false names that have emerald in its name but are not emeralds, such as emeraldite, which is green tourmaline, or Indian emerald, which is quartz or chalcedony. So just like diamonds, be aware of what you may be getting and do some research. Sometimes emeralds can be turned into doublets, where lighter pieces of stones are taken and put together with a darker green paste to make it look like a more vibrant stone. Most of the time the second piece is colored glass or a less expensive synthetic stone. I made this small little infographic here just to show you what parts of the stone are natural and what's usually synthetic, as well as it most of the time being split at the girdle to be more of a seamless look. Emerald's name comes from the ancient Greek smaragdus, which is the color green. It makes more sense in other languages like German, where the word for emerald is smaragd. I really don't know how the anglicized emerald itself came about. Emeralds are the birthstone for May, which has no alternatives to my knowledge. For the zodiac signs, emeralds seem to be beneficial for many of them, but it is the talisman stone for Gemini, so I'll go with that one. Zodiac birthstone-wise, it would be a Cancer and Taurus. For anniversaries, emerald is one that proves true love by being one you have to wait for. It's the traditional gift of the 55th wedding anniversary. In the past, this stone was sought out by many as decoration for jewelry. For ancient Egyptians, emeralds were considered a symbol of eternal life, and the vibrant green was a sacred color associated with the fertility of the land. They were even buried with pharaohs. For a woman in childbirth, an emerald would be strapped to her thigh to alleviate the pain for some. Hindu people also loved emeralds, which they believed to purify the soul and bring success in both finance and battle. Legends had told of emeralds being from the nests of griffins, and were thought to help memory and predict future events by putting it under your tongue. The green of emeralds are thought to have a great healing effect for the eyes of humans, but in myths it caused serpents and reptiles to become blind. Helping the eyesight, it was also at one point believed to help with epilepsy. In current metaphysical beliefs, emeralds are life-affirming. Promote peace and happiness as well as friendship. It helps to fuel recovery and positive thoughts, and yes, refresh the mind. When emeralds aren't opaque, they help concentrate and raise consciousness. So, oops, maybe that's why I had a heck of a time making myself work for this video. All the stones I had were opaque. That's the reason. I've run out of stuff to talk about emeralds, so now I will just talk about my painting that I'm finishing up here. I did this all on probably my favorite least expensive watercolor paper, which is called Fluid 100. And instead of being inspired by all the information that I've researched, I couldn't get out of my head the previous thoughts about dragons that I had. When I think of emeralds, I think of lush green fantasy and dragons. So I ended up painting a resting green dragon with an elven friend in the middle of a magic and hidden forest. I kind of wanted it to just be kind of calm and cute and use all of my favorite colors, which are green and yellow, so I had a lot of fun with it. Instead of the paints that I usually use, I wanted to try making a full piece out of Viviva watercolor sheets. I've used them before, but mostly for sketchbook doodles and thumbnail pieces. But I loved how vibrant they were in my thumbnail, so I wanted to see if I could replicate it here. I think I did an okay job replicating my thumbnail. I definitely made the actual version a lot cleaner, and I really do prefer how the elf and the dragon look together. They look a lot more snuggly and close, but I kind of missed some of the lighter colors. I think I overdid it in the final painting. The thumbnail just has a lot of lights that I feel like I'm missing, but don't get me wrong, I still really like what I did with the final piece. Working with the Viviva watercolors is a little more challenging than my normal watercolors that I work with, because I tend to use a lot of lifting techniques and blending in them, but the Viviva are really inky and hard to pull up from the paper, so they are super, super vibrant. Don't get me wrong, they're like crazy insane vibrance out of just a little bit of paint. But it does make me appreciate the effects that I can get with my normal paints. It's just fun to mess around with even a little bit different supplies. For the colored pencils, I used my usuals of the Prismacolor and Caran d'Ache Lightfast pencils, and then I used a Uniposca here just to add back in some of the white that I was missing, but still not quite as light as my thumbnail sketch. And now it's time that I got out all of my little emeralds here. So for my emeralds, I bought some at a local store here in my city, which was super fun to look throughout. I bought way more gemstones there than I absolutely needed to, but that's just more of an excuse to make more art for these, right? Right? Yeah. It's fine. Anyways, here I am gluing on all of the shattered pieces of emerald that I broke up earlier. I have way too many extras, so hopefully I can use them for something else. Here's the finished piece. I think it turned out pretty well. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope I was able to teach you some new things today, and if you have any questions that I haven't answered in the video, I hope you leave a comment. Anyways, if you want to see more, I hope you'll subscribe to keep up with the other gemstone videos I'll be doing. Have a great day, y'all.